Data interpretation is a section of maths, but it is not commonly asked in many exams, right? Although exams like CLAT or MBA, BBA exams have started asking it. So, what exactly is meant by data interpretation? Well, as the name itself suggests, you will be given data or information in some format. It could be in a table, it could be in the form of a chart, it could be in the form of a graph. You have to just read the information which is given to you, and based on that information, you have to answer the questions. So, which areas of mathematics are important? So, we normally consider four things to be important to be able to solve questions of data interpretation. One, it goes without saying, calculations, right? Data interpretation questions often have a lot of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So, you must know basic calculations. Then, a very popular type of question is one which involves percentages in it. So you must know and understand what are the basic concepts of percentages. Third, many a times they ask questions which ask you to give the ratio between two numbers. So obviously you must know what ratios are, how they work. And fourth, averages are very commonly asked in questions of data interpretation. So, if you are comfortable with doing calculations and you understand basic concepts of percent, ratio, and averages, then data interpretation is not that difficult. Today, however, we are going to start with a look at data interpretation question, which is slightly different, right? It involves a concept of, I guess, geometry and mensuration, but something which is very simple, something which you must have learned in like primary or basic high school, right? 8th, 9th, 10th, you must have definitely learned this. So let's take a look at the information which is given to us and then see how to solve it. So there is this table given, right? It contains the names of 5 shapes: triangle, rectangle, square, parallelogram, and circle. It is given what is the measurement, right? For some of them, the measurements are given as in what is the side. For triangle, we have been given the base and the height. For circle, we don't have any straight sides, so we have been given what the radius is. Then we have the cost for flooring, right? If I want to put a carpet, if I want to lay tiles, then per square meter, what is the cost? That is for area. We have been given per shape. And then the circumference. If I want to put a fence or a boundary wall, then what is the length of the border, right? Based on that, the cost of fencing per meter is given for each of the shapes. Did you get that? So did we understand the basic information which is presented to us in this table? Now Prasanna is asking what is better, DI or maths chapters? That is like asking which is better, idli or dosa. Depends on you. किसी को इडली अच्छा लगता है, किसी को डोसा अच्छा लगता है, right? Nothing is better than the other. If you understand the basic concept, like is this geometry or is this data interpretation? If you understand basic concepts of geometry and if you know basic calculations, then you can easily solve this set. So it's not saying one is better than the other. Everything is interrelated. So did everybody understand this set first? Based on this, we have to solve questions, right? So I put up the data also. Now the question is, what is the cost of flooring A? If I want to put a floor on A, what is A? A is our triangle. So what is the total cost if I want to lay the floor for A? I'm going to increase the size of the table a bit if it is not very legible. I hope now the data can be read. So tell me, what is the cost of the flooring? Easy. So shape A is a triangle. If I want to find out how much it will cost to completely floor it, then I need to calculate what is the area of this floor. So for a triangle, the area is given by half multiplied by base multiplied by height. So in this case, half multiplied by base is 16 multiplied by height is 12. So when I do half multiplied by 16 multiplied by 12, how much do I get? I get it is 96. So area is 96 square meters. Now the cost of flooring is 50 per square meter. So 96 multiplied by 50 will give me my total cost. So 96 multiplied by 50 gives me my total cost as 4,800, which is option C. So my answer is 4,800, which is option C. Got this one? So for answering this question, what did we need to know? We only need to know what is the formula for area of a triangle. And I think area of a triangle का formula तो बचपन से बहुत बार सीखा है हमने. Half base into height. Correct? I think this was easy. Next, what is the difference between the cost of fencing C and B? You have to tell me what is the difference in the cost of fencing C and B. Fencing is border. Yes, Anmol, correct. This is relatively simple. Anmol is asking, will questions be this in the exam? Yes, why not? They are only calculation intensive, and believe me, not every student will get all the questions right even in this. Many people will forget the formula. Some people will put wrong formula. So yes, if you know the fundamentals, then every question is easy. So first let's calculate for B. Right? B is a rectangle. So the perimeter of this rectangle is 2 times length plus breadth. So it is 2 times 10 plus 20, that is 30, which is 60. So the cost of fencing is 60 multiplied by 15, which is equal to 900. For C, which is a square, the perimeter is 4 times the length, which is equal to 4 times 15, which is again equal to 60. But now the cost is 18. So the cost of fencing is 18 multiplied by 60, which is equal to 1080. And if we take out the difference between these two, the difference is 180. So my answer A, the difference between the cost of fencing B and the cost of fencing C, the difference between the two numbers is 180. Hopefully this was also easy. Everybody should have got this one also. Right? It's just a matter of understanding how to find out the perimeter of two shapes. One is a circle and the other is a square. One is a rectangle and the other is a square. For rectangle, 2 times length plus breadth, and for square, 4 times length. Did everybody understand that one? Correct. Now, what is the ratio of the cost of flooring to fencing of field D? Now, D is a parallelogram. So, area of a parallelogram, perimeter of a parallelogram, and then the cost is given to you per square meter or per meter. So first you need to find out what is the area and length, and then find out the cost of each, and then the ratio calculation. Yep. So flooring upon fencing. So flooring is price of flooring multiplied by the area divided by price of fencing multiplied by the perimeter. So for flooring, what is the price for a parallelogram? It is 60, and area is half into base into height. So half into base into height divided by cost of fencing is 25, and 2 times length plus breadth, that is 20 plus 12. If you simplify all this, you will get the ratio as 9:1. Once you simplify this, ratio is 9:1. So my answer is option D. So here, what are we supposed to know? Here, the simple fact is, what is the area of a parallelogram? So area of a parallelogram is given by base multiplied by height, and the perimeter is given by the 4 sides. Did you get that? Base into height. Yes, area is base into height. It's not at all difficult. Everybody understood it? Right. Now, the cost of fencing E. The cost of fencing E is approximately what percentage of the cost of flooring field C? The cost of fencing E is what percentage of the cost of flooring C? just have to calculate this. If your calculations are right, you will get it approximately equal to 0.15 something, which is roughly equal to 15 point something percentage. So option D, 15 point something percentage is your answer. It's only calculation which is lengthy in this. Baki it's straightforward. Only the calculation part is a bit lengthy. Did everybody get this one? You just have to practice how to multiply and divide carefully in this one. Chalo, last question of the set. The cost of fencing C is what percentage of fencing D? The cost of fencing C is what percentage of the cost of fencing D? Got this one? Kushi? Again, just a matter of calculation. If you calculate it correctly, it should be easy. Right? This was an easy example. बेसिक ज्योमेट्री के फंडे इसमें थोड़े बहुत, बेसिक मेंसुरेशन एरिया एंड पेरीमीटर, उसका बेसिक फंडा भी अगर पता हो तो दिस वाज अ वेरी वेरी सिंपल एग्जांपल टू सॉल्व. एंड आई थिंक 2020 one of the papers, one of the entrance exams had this type of a set in it. With this very exact same type of set was in one of the actual papers, and very laddu question. Chalo, let's move on to the next type of example, next set of data interpretation. Now read this data. This table shows the percentage population of 6 states, right? It shows you the percentage population of 6 states which are below poverty line and the proportion of males and females in them. So in like example, in state 1, there are 16% of the people who live below poverty line. So if 16% people live below poverty line, that means 84% are above poverty line. 100 minus 16. Now, in the 16% below poverty line, the ratio of male female is 4:3. And in the remaining 84% above poverty line, the ratio of male female is 3:2. And so on for all the 6 states. Did everybody understand this basic data given in the table? Did everybody understand what this data represents? Okay. So using this data, let's see these questions. First one, if the total population of S1 is 4,400, then how many females are above the poverty line? Easy calculation. Correct, Anmol. See, in S1, the total population is given as 4,400. Now, out of that, I need above the poverty line. If below the poverty line is 16%, then above the poverty line is 84%. Out of that, I need females. So, above poverty line females is 2 out of total of 5. Once you solve this, you will get your answer, right? If you solve this, the answer comes approximately around 1478, and that is your answer. Did everybody understand this one? Good. Chalo. So again, lot of calculations, but nothing else. Now, if the total population of S1 and S4 is 17,000, then what is the total number of females below the poverty line in these two states? S3 and S4 together have 17,000 people. How many females are below poverty line in S3 and S4? Yes, correct, Anmol. Correct, Khushi. What about the others? Ria, Anya, Abhishek. Are you guys there? चलो S3 and S4 में मिला के there are 17,000 people. Now I need below poverty line. S3 में 26% are below poverty line. S4 में 12.5% are below poverty line. Sorry, this is 28. But 28% of how much? 12.5% of how much? इस 17,000 को कितने में डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना है? 17,000 में S3 कितना and S4 कितना? How much of 17,000 belongs to S3 and how much of 17,000 belongs to S4? I don't know, because it is not given there are equally distributed. So when the percentages are different, then without knowing the base, I can't do anything. So my data is inadequate. I don't have enough information to answer this question. If the percentage of S3 and S4 was same, then we could have calculated. But here the percentages are different. So I cannot take average or anything like that. Right? So I simply cannot answer this question. Did everybody get that? You cannot solve this question. Righto. Now, if the population of males below poverty line in state S1 is 18,000 and that in S2 S5 S2 S5 is 24,000, then what is the ratio of the total population S1 to that of S5? Need to increase the size of the font so that it is readable. Chalo. Yeah, S1 and S5. It will be heavy on calculation. If you are smart, then you will not do the exact calculation at every step. You will leave the numbers as it is till the last step so that you can do minimum calculations. Don't simplify at every step. Don't do the simplification at each step. Making any progress? No, Anmol. Check your calculations. Yeah. Now it's correct. So which option is that? A, correct. Others, where are we? No, Prasanna, check your calculations. You're off by one digit. So, it says the population of males below poverty line in S1 is 18,000. So, males below poverty line in S1, the number 4 is equal to 18,000. So, can I say total population below poverty line is 4 plus 3 is 7. So, that is equal to 7 upon 4 times 18,000. And if this is equal to 16%, right? This is equal to 16%. Then the complete population 100% will be equal to how much? So that will be 7 upon 4 into 18,000 into 100 divided by 16. Right? Similarly, if I need to compare it with state S5, so for S5, what am I going to get? I'm going to get 5 upon 3 into 24,000 into 100 divided by 36. And the moment you simplify this, you will get your final answer. Are we clear? Did everybody understand how these calculations came? अब तो सिर्फ सिंप्लीफाई ही करना है. Are you getting it, guys? Right. So the option is A, 315 is to 512. If you calculate it correctly, you should get the first option as the answer. Now moving ahead. If the population of males above poverty line, if the population of males above poverty line in state S2 is 4100, then what is the total population of that state? Now this is easier than the previous question, right? Previous question में तो इसका double calculation करना था. Yep, Anmol. See, the pura data is for state 2. So we have to take all these numbers. Now, male above poverty line is 5. So if male above poverty line is equal to 4100, then total people above poverty line, that is 5 plus 7, is equal to how much? So that will be 12 into 4100 divided by 5. I will not calculate it. I'll keep it as it is. Now, this is equal to above poverty line population. So if 82% is equal to 12 into 4100 by 5, then 100% is equal to how much? So my final calculation is 100 into 12 into 4100 divided by 5 divided by 82. Now all you have to do is simplify this. 41 ones are, 41 twos are एक जीरो यहां से नॉक ऑफ कर दो, दैट्स इट, 12,000 इज माई आंसर. कैलकुलेशन भी बहुत सिंपल है इसके अंदर. वाई डिड आई डिवाइड बाई 5? विच वन प्रसन्ना? इन द टॉप स्टेप, see, the ratio of male is to female is 5:7, which means the total is 12. Do you understand this? The ratio of 5:7 means the total is 12. So, if males, that is 5, is represented by 4,100, then the total 12 is represented by how much? So, cross multiplication, 12 into 4,100 divided by 5. Unitary method. Correct? Right. I hope everybody also got this one. Did everybody understand this one? Right. Next. So this is obviously E. Next. If in the state S6, the population of females above poverty line is 4,800, then what is the population of males below poverty line? If you have understood it, you should be able to calculate it very quickly. No answers so far? Very good. Siddhant, Anmol. Very good. What about the others? Chalo guys. Population of females above the poverty line. Everything is S6. So above the poverty line, female population is 3. That is 4,800. So the total population is 2 plus 3, that is equal to 5. So that is the total population above poverty line. It is 5 by 3 into 4,800, right? 5 by 3 into 4,800. If you want, you can simplify. It's not very difficult. You'll get the answer is 8,000. So 64% above poverty line is equal to 8,000. Then 36%, which is below poverty line, is equal to how much? So once you do this calculation, 36% below poverty line, you get the answer is 4,500. Now out of this, how many are males? So 4 is to 5. So total 4 by 9 out of 4,500 are males. And if you simplify this, you get your answer as 2,000. So option B, 2,000 is my right answer. Right? And the numbers were very simple to calculate. So the calculation should not take much time here. कहाँ कहाँ स्टेप बाय स्टेप करना है बस वो समझना है, राइट? प्योर रेशियो प्रोपोर्शन एंड परसेंटेज का मिक्सचर है ये. अगर रेशियो प्रोपोर्शन समझ में आता है and if you are comfortable with basics of percentage, then this is a very very simple example to solve. समझ में आया सबको? Did everybody get this one? Right? Okay. Chalo. Moving on then. Now the next set. Now ये एकदम सरदर्द वाला set है. Simple, but you need to be very very careful. In 6 years, the number of students taking admission and leaving from the different colleges which were found in 2010 is given. So if I take a look at the data, first row, and this is for college A. So 2010 में 1125 students they got admission. उस साल सेम साल में कोई निकलेगा नहीं obviously. फिर अगले साल 330 स्टूडेंट्स ज्वाइंड एंड टोटल में से 220 स्टूडेंट्स लेफ्ट. उसके बाद 2012 में 290 स्टूडेंट्स ज्वाइंड एंड देन 210 स्टूडेंट्स लेफ्ट एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. लाइक दिस द डेटा फॉर 5 different colleges of how many students are joining and leaving every year is given. यहां तक तो डेटा सिंपल है. दीज आर स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड नंबर्स. इसमें कोई रेशियो परसेंटेज कुछ नहीं, इससे सीधा सीधा आपको नंबर दे दिया गया है. सो व्हाट आर द क्वेश्चंस? फर्स्ट वन, व्हाट इज द एवरेज नंबर ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स स्टडीइंग इन ऑल द 5 colleges in the year 2012? I'm going to increase the size of the table so that you can read it properly. Hope now it is legible. So 2012 में average number of students studying in all 5 colleges. get it? The answer is also thousands. The answer is also thousands. The data is in thousands. The answer is also in thousands. How can the answer be in thousands? Look at the very first number of 2010, Anmol. The very first number of every row is 1000. एक एक नंबर नीचे चला गया है. Now I think the first row is all in thousands, right? And the number will go up. यहाँ पे the only thing that you have to do properly is addition and subtraction. Proper addition and subtraction करना है और कुछ भी नहीं है इस प्रॉब्लम के अंदर. So it's a lengthy problem, but it's a very easy one. If you are comfortable with addition subtraction, you will get this one. It's taking time only because of the calculations, I hope. So what do we do? To find out the average number of students in the college, you start by finding out in 2012 how many students were there. That means you add these three numbers and you subtract this from it. Similarly, you add these three numbers and you subtract, add, subtract, add, subtract, add, subtract. And finally, whatever result you get, the entire thing divide by 5 because there are 5 data points. And if your calculations are correct, you should get 1594 as your final answer. Right? You just had to add 15 numbers, subtract 10 numbers from it and divide it by 5. Calculation ही है और कुछ भी नहीं है इस प्रॉब्लम के अंदर. Did we get it? Other than calculations, there is nothing much to be done in this problem. Right? So this, like I said, see, abhi tak we have seen total only 4 concepts are generally covered. Either it will be calculation based, or some sort of average, or some sort of ratio proportion, or some sort of percentage. Right? These are the main 4 concepts. And if you get that, then most of the data interpretation problems will be very easily solved. Chalo, moving ahead to the next one. What is the number of students studying in college B in the year 2014? I'll expand the data so that it becomes readable. And this is easier than the previous one, because previous one you had to do a lot many calculations. Here it is easier. getting this one? The number of students studying in college B in 2014. Yes, Anmol, Anya, Siddhant. So क्या करना है? कुछ नहीं. College B is this one. Till 2014 is this data. So nothing. Add the first four numbers 1050, 450, 325, 285, 300, and from that subtract the remaining numbers. And if your addition subtraction is clear, your answer should be option D. Yes, Kairavi, Siddhant, Anya, Anmol all seem to have got it correctly. I hope the others also understood how this problem was calculated. Right. Next one. If the number of students leaving the college from the year 2010 to 2015 is approximately what percent of the number of students taking admission in the same college and during the same year? Very lamba calculation in this one, guys. Did you understand how to do it? Lot of calculations has to be done in this. But it's simply a matter of adding and adding. You add all the admissions, you add all the leavings, and you find the percentage. In the exam, I will not do this in the middle of the paper. I will leave this question for the end of the paper. because although it is easy, it is lengthy. I know how to do it, but it will take me a lot of time. So I will keep this question for the end. I will not waste my time in solving it in the middle of the paper. I will do other questions first and then come back to this calculation intensive question. Did anybody manage to do the calculations? Yes, Anya. Anya, correct. If you do the calculations properly, your answer should come close to C, 39%. It's a very, very long and calculation intensive question. Did everybody understand this one? Did everybody get the funda behind this question? सारे A's को ऐड करो, सारे L को ऐड करो, and L divided by A, that is your answer. Shall I move on to the next question, guys? इस क्वेश्चन में सिर्फ कैलकुलेशन ज्यादा है, समझने में कुछ नहीं है. चलो, मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट वन देन. Again, calculation intensive. What is the difference in the behavior of the number of students taking admission between 2011 and 15 in D and B? This should be faster than the previous one. Number of students taking admission between D and B between 2011 and 15. So this portion and this portion, they just needed to be added. Did I go wrong or did I do it correctly? Just check the calculations, guys. You get the answer? Which one, Siddhant? 1725 कहाँ से आया? Sorry. Yeah, this is 1700. 5, 10, 0, 1 carry forward. 6, 7, 8, 16, 20. This is 1700. Right, this is 1700. So then this becomes 415. Yeah, this is 415. Yeah, that's what I was checking because I knew there was some calculation mistake I had done. Yeah, the answer is 415. 415. Hitvi, both of us did similar mistake in calculation. It's not 395, it's 415. Right? Is everybody getting it? 415. Correct. Chalo. Moving on. In which of the following colleges the percentage increase in the number of students from 2010 to 2015 is the maximum? Very, very calculation intensive. You have to actually calculate the increase in the number of students for each of these colleges and then find out percentage wise which is the maximum. Right? For all 5 colleges, you have to first calculate what is the increase in the number of students from 2010 to 2015. Right? That means addition of all these numbers and from that subtraction. So the number which comes here, you have to calculate for all 5 and then compare it with the initial number to see maximum percentage wise increase is in which. Yeah, I'm just going to, did you understand the funda? I'm not going to waste time. If you understood what is to be done, I'll leave the calculation for later. Did you understand the question? Right? So if the calculation is proper, answer should come as C. That's it. I'm not going to go too much into it. But I hope everybody understood what is asked in the question and how we calculate it. Right? It's a simple matter of addition and then comparison. Chalo. Let's take one more set of questions. This should be simpler. This gives you the temperature of 5 different places in 5 months. Right? It gives you the temperature of 5 different places in 5 months. So Durban, Quito, Columbus, Lisbon and Riyadh had these temperatures average in the months of Jan, Feb, March, April and May. Now the first question is, what is the difference between the average temperature of Durban and that of Quito? This one is easy. The difference between the average temperatures of Durban and Quito. It's 5 degrees. For Durban, the average is 23.2. For Quito, the average is 18.2. So the difference between the average temperatures is 5 degrees. Anmol, how did you get D? Check your calculations. D cannot be my answer. The difference is 5 degrees. Average temperatures. Right? Chalo. What is the difference between the average temperature of all cities in May and that of February? Average in May and February May. What is the difference? Easy. 3 degrees. This is a pretty straightforward set. After the calculation nightmares in the previous set, this one is very, very simple. Small numbers. Orally, you can do half of them. Did you understand this one? Right. Next one then. The average temperature of Riyadh is what percentage more than that of Columbus? The average temperature of Riyadh is how much more than that of Columbus? Did you get this one? For Riyadh and Columbus, if I'm just doing a percentage comparison, then I don't need the average. Whether I take the average or total, answer will be the same because both the numbers are being divided by 5. So I save one step. I don't find the average. I simply find the total and directly compare the total. So Riyadh 171, Columbus 83, difference 88. So 88 is what percentage of 83? Rough answer 106. Did you understand why I did not divide by 5? Because it does not make any difference to the step. If both are divided by 5, the percentage wise both are same. So I save a few seconds by not doing that average division. It's not required. When you are comparing percentages, whether you take the total value or the average value, comparison will always remain the same. Did you get why I did not find out the average? It is not required. I'm just saving one step. Right. Next one. What is the ratio of the average temperature of Lisbon to that of Quito? Again, when you are finding a ratio, whether you take the total or the average, it does not make a difference. So don't divide by 5. Don't find the average, just find the total. You compare the totals, it will be the same. So for Lisbon, the total is what? And for Quito, I think we just found out it was what, 87? Hundred and 7 is to 91. Right? No need to find the average. You directly can take ratio of the totals. Again, few seconds we can save. Did you understand this question? Okay, last question of the day. The average temperature in May is what percentage of the average temperature in March of the given 5 cities? Again, percentage में total लो या average लो फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. So we can save some time. Just use the total value, don't divide it by 5. So May divided by March, I simply need to find out the percentage. So May is how much? And March is right. So what is the answer? 120 upon 110. So what percentage it is? So 110 is 10 more than 110. So 1 by 11. 1 by 11 is 9.09%. So 109.09% is my answer. I hope everybody got this one. Easy calculation. If you remember your reciprocal values, then you should know 1 upon 11 is 9.09. So even without using any calculation techniques, directly you can know the answer. All you had to do was remember reciprocal value of 1 by 11 is 9.09. Got this one? I hope everybody got this one. Right. So guys, that's it. We will put a halt here at 11:30. Of course, you have your GK session today, right? We'll have a new ID password for that. So if there are any questions, you can hang around and ask. Else, you may exit the session. We are done for the day. Have a good day and stay safe.